Hello and welcome to the Enterprise National League predictions from the Oz Football Podcast. That's with me saying Enterprise National League. Welcome to the prediction show. I'm Chris Oden. With me as always is Mr. Daniel Cody. Today we're going to guess who's going to go up to the Football League and who's going to go down to the National League North or South, depending on what teams we have predicted to go down. While you're on this video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Oz Football Podcast, and you can obviously follow us on all the socials. We're going to predict at the bottom fourth, so 21st to 24th. So from second to seventh, which are the playoffs, and only one goes up automatically. That should really change. It should always be three up and three down. So let's start with the bottom four. Let's start with 24th place.
Yeah, and I think 24th sadly has to be a caveat rather than an actual prediction, doesn't it? Because I think 24th or null and void will end up being Morecambe either way, because sadly it's a club that's in a wretched state of affairs. And I know we had a saga a couple of years ago with Southend, but at that point there seemed to be a deal to be done. It was just getting dragged out as much as possible from a financial point of view. But in this one, it doesn't look like there's much hope, sadly. And I don't know how many times we need to say that this has to stop happening before something does stop happening. I don't know when there's going to be an appropriate owners and directors test, but as we stand at the time of recording, Morecambe can't play their first three games. They've been suspended till mid-August. There's no suggestion at the moment that any situation is going to be resolved there, and we would imagine that probably by the end of August, unfortunately, Morecambe will no longer be a National League club and it will be a 23-team league. But hopefully that changes. There can be a miracle, and from the 20th of August, Morecambe can take part. But quite frankly, even if they do, where they finish in the league at that point is irrelevant. It's just about having a football club next year. So hopefully for the club and the community they have, but ultimately, team or not, whether it's on the field or it's decided for them in August, I think Morecambe will be bottom.
Yes, that's an obvious candidate. Morecambe being 24th. I feel sorry for the players, for the staff, obviously the fans. There are people behind at the club that want obviously the club to proceed. There's obviously someone that doesn't want the club to proceed. It's sad, and like come Monday, the 4th of August, they're going to have no money. They can't train because of insurance purposes because the insurance has run out, and it's horrible. It's that sinking feeling, and I hope even by the time this video goes out, there can be some sort of deal going on, but I can't see it happening under Jason and Whittingham. When we do these predictions, we do want teams. Yes, we pick teams to finish bottom, but we do it in a way that for footballing reasons rather than off the field reasons. And if they can start the season, great. And we want a 24 team league, in any league really, from high up to the bottom. We want a full league season, and I hope they do come out on the other side. I really hope they do. I can't see it happening. No, I feel really bad for them, but unfortunately, Morecambe's going to be 24th. Right, let's move on to 23rd.
So I've gone for a side that came up the previous year, did really well to stay up last season. They survived, but it's been a really difficult summer. And I've gone for Braintree Town because I just thought, look, yes, they just about did it. They actually overachieved massively, but they've lost their star man in Kyrell Lisby, who's now gone up to Peterborough in the EFL, leaves a void of goals, leaves a void of assists and creativity. They were the joint fourth lowest scorers in the league last year, relied on a relatively solid defence to get them over the line compared to other sides down there. And I think without many more further signings and improvements, which obviously in the National League's a bit different with the window going on, but I just think it's going to be a tough second season for them. So, of the teams in the league, they were the most confident. I was the most confident of them going down. So I put Braintree in 23rd.
I've gone for Brackley Town, 23rd. Obviously, got promoted, won the National League North. I'm glad the new club's in the National League as well. It's going to be a very tough season for them. It's actually quite a strong league this season, I'll be honest.
Very evenly matched.
Very exactly. It's not like there's been like a standard cut. There's not your Notts Counties, your Wrexhams, your Chesterfields. There's no real big team, and obviously Oldham obviously just got promoted last season. No real big team, so it's quite an even spread this season. I think Bradley could give a good run. I think they have a good season. Don't get me wrong, but will they have enough? It's a long season ahead, but yeah. Sorry, 23rd place. 22nd.
Well, I'll give you a quick spoiler now. I've not put Brackley Town in my relegation places, so we're at least going to have one different there. In 22nd, I've gone for one of the teams. Now Maidenhead have gone down. I think I have to go for the other team that I always go for that never actually get relegated, and that team is Wilston because every year they seem to find a way to survive. This time they survived by one position and 1 point, which was the closest yet. But I just start to worry time's running out from them. They let in 76 goals last year. They didn't have that clinical goal scorer that they've had a couple of previous seasons that has then been sold on. They didn't find that one last year. They've not done enough work yet this summer to convince me they won't drop into the bottom three and well bottom four if Morecambe start. And as you said, it's a competitive league. Everyone's pretty evenly matched, and I don't feel Wilston are progressing and going forward as a squad at the moment. So given that they haven't improved enough yet, as it stands, before more transfer work, I've got them in 22nd place.
Also got them in 22nd place. Yeah, I've looked at recent records, as you said, that obviously they're slowly drifting down the league. Which is lucky last season, the lucky season before they had that, they beat Dorking to pretty much survive the season before that. Yeah, I just feel it's one season too many for Wheelstone. Good club, big pitch on the slope, unfortunately going down. At 21st place.
Well, this was a pretty tight one for me, and I'm afraid I have put one of the promoted clubs in to get relegated back to the regional leagues. And that team, I'm afraid, is Truro City because it was a really excellent effort to come out on top in that ridiculous National League South title race that went down to 6 teams in the final 2 games or whatever. But
Final day.
well, yeah, it was incredible. But even with 2 games to go, there was what 3 points separating the top six. It was a ridiculous title race. They got out on top, which against some clubs that would be more fancied than them and had been in the league more recently was incredible effort. It has been a quite quiet summer, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they've lost Cabia again, one of their key attacking threats, similar to what I mentioned with Braintree. They have signed Luke Jeffcott, who scored goals in League Two before, could be a good replacement at this level as well. But I'd like to see them add a little bit more National League experience into the squad. They've not got a great deal of it in there at the moment, and I think that might be the difference between them and probably the 3 or 4 I've got above because. I know they won the FA Trophy last year at Wembley. I had Aldershot pretty close. They've got a terrible defensive record for a couple of years now. Woking have been drifting for a few seasons, might become Wealdstone soon. Brackley, I mentioned as well, or you put in the bottom four, had them relatively close. But I just think the lack of National League experience in the squad will be the difference between Truro and those other three. They've got the advantage of it being a very long trip for most teams, so maybe home advantage might give them something there. But I just couldn't find a better candidate. So I've just about gone for them to go down, but I would not be shocked at all if it's one of the other three I just mentioned.
I haven't gone for Truro in the bottom four. I actually think home advantage will be a key factor. No, I don't think many teams will want to travel all the way down to Truro. It's a hell of a long way, but let them enjoy the ride. It's going to be a good one. Whatever position they come, they're going to enjoy it. It's their first season in the National League. I think they might set it up. I think they could do the Dorking of a couple of years
I
ago.
hope
Might stay
so.
up enough close by, and then I think like maybe next season I might go down. But I think if they get that one survive for the first season nationally, that is a huge plus for them. My 21st team is Boston United.
Oh,
It was a tough one to pick Boston. Braintree obviously had there. That was my other choice, Braintree. Obviously, tough first season back in the National League. It was a tough choice, but I just feel like Boston could drift down the league this season. Can't really give an explanation why I've given them that 21st place, but final day go down.
it is tight, isn't it? It's
It
hard
is
to
very
call
tight,
between so many of them.
very tight. Right, let's move to the top seven. The playoff places first. So it's seventh place.
Well, I'll be honest with you here. I found picking the top eight very easy, as will be seen on my prediction notes. The top six I was very comfortable with. Seventh and eighth, I'm still not sure if I'm going to change round because it's the only position I'm really uncertain out of this whole thing. So the two teams are Gateshead, who missed out agonisingly last season, and Scunthorpe, who came up last year but have got a couple of very good players in the squad. If they can keep them fit going forward, Cal Roberts and Danny White will score goals at this level. Cal Roberts was obviously at Notts County when they were flying in the National League before several injuries ruined his time. I know they've signed well. I know they're going to be good, but we went for a double promotion in the championship the other day, so I'm not going to do it in the National League. I'm going to put Gateshead in seventh. The reason I'm going to go for it is very obvious where they need to improve. They let in 20 more goals than any of the top seven last year, which obviously made up for their excellent attacking record and in the end cost them the top seven place. They've had a really busy summer. Loads of important players have moved on, but they've also added experience in most positions. Dom Telford's come in, is capable of scoring goals for fun when he's at his best. So with the right service, I think they're pushing again. They've been there or thereabouts for a few years in a row now. So if they can maybe add one or two more defensive players before the end of the summer, I think they'll be all right for this season. So I'm not sure between those two, but I'll edge Gateshead in seventh.
I'm gonna go for Altrincham in seventh. Losing Regan Lilly is obviously not ideal, but I still feel they're a strong side. They might fans might be a bit like, oh well, we've lost him now. Well,
But they lost Chris Conclark the year before to Peterborough, and they were still nearly there
yeah,
this year.
Altrincham a tough place to go to. I really, really do think that. So they're my wild card. Sixth.
Sixth place, I've gone for a team that underperformed last year, should be back in the playoffs this time. Former league club, Hartlepool United. It was a frustrating season. They lost a few attacking players to fellow National League clubs. However, Simon Grayson returns to English football, fresh from his titles abroad. I think they've signed pretty well. Alex Reid has proven he can score goals galore at this level before. They've added real quality in midfield. Matty Daly from Harrogate, Walker's come in as well in there. Plenty of experience. It just gives me more confidence they'll push for the playoffs this year. And I think some of the teams that were on the outskirts of it last year and around them in the table maybe haven't gone forward quite so much. So Hartlepool, I'm going for in sixth place, and Simon Grayson into the playoffs.
I'm going to go for Sutton, another team that's disappointed last season.
Yeah.
Obviously, they won the league a couple of years ago, and they did all right in that the first year or so in the League Two. Just drifted away, and obviously they didn't really spark last season. If they can get that momentum back in again, I think they can sneak back in the top seven. Fifth.
I've gone for a team to drift down a couple of positions in fifth, purely on a managerial change. And I reckon you might have them higher, but I've gone for Forest Green Rovers in fifth because it was a weird one last year. After 2 seasons of freefall, Steve Cottrell stopped the rot, actually got them competing really well up in third place. And I was really
Gone the playoffs.
yeah,
Playoffs.
I was really surprised he got sacked at the end of the season and in favour of Robbie Savage, who obviously we know what he's been doing at Macclesfield, but I'm not convinced it's the right decision, and I might be proven wrong. I hope I am. We want to see young British managers doing well, but I'm a little bit concerned about that. It doesn't change the strength of the squad. It is still a top seven squad without doubt. He's obviously brought 3 or 4 of his star Macclesfield players with him and signed some good younger players from the EFL too. I'm quite interested to see what he does tactically because I watched his team live a couple of times in the Northern Prem last year and they had such a physical and technical advantage over the teams at that level that they didn't really have to rely on their being tactically adept or whatever. So I'm interested to see how Robbie Savage deals with those difficult away trips in the National League. Without doubt, they're a top seven squad, and that's why I've still got them in there. But whether or not they challenge up in that top three again, I think is down to Robbie Savage, and I'm still not convinced that that was the right decision.
My fifth place is Rochdale. Good solid season. Obviously, unlucky in the playoffs as well. They really ridiculous game in the playoffs as well against was it Southend.
Yeah.
So really ridiculous, 4-3 in the end. So they've got that fan base, they've got that momentum back because it was real tough a couple of years. They didn't know where they were going. They were stuck in the mud. But they're slowly growing their way back now, slowly building momentum, and another good season I think for them will be on the cards, and they could be challenging. Honestly, I know I put them fifth, but they could be challenging for the top spot. Fourth.
Fourth, I've gone for a team that made the playoffs last season again. I've gone for Southend United. I predict they'll be in your top four as well. Really good effort last season. Kevin Marr, a bit like you mentioned with Rochdale with Jim McNulty, just rebuilding the club after uncertainty off the pitch for a little while. And probably the first summer where there's no real thought about what's going on off the pitch and whether they can just bring players in at will. And look, they haven't done a lot of business yet, which I was a little bit surprised by. I thought they'd do a bit more by now, but they got good lift back permanently. They had on loan last year, added a couple of good defensive players, Harry Boyes being another. And they're now stable. They're settled. They've got a manager who's been there a long time. They've got an ownership that's steady. They've got the fan base back on side. And they're a club that seems to be building momentum. So I'll back them to be in the top seven again for sure. Whereabouts exactly? I've gone for fourth, but it could be anywhere. But I'm pretty sure they'll be up there again.
So gone for Southend in fourth. From what I've read, obviously, from the friendly they played against Luton, very physical side. Like to rough it up. Obviously, lost in the playoff final last season, heartbreaking. Obviously, in the extra time to Oldham, and as you said, they've got momentum. They're very solid. They've got the foundations there for your cake, as John still might say. Got the foundations, and they're just building. And the same, as I just said about Rochdale, building momentum. Another thing that could really be challenging that top echelons of the National League. So it's yeah, actually picking these teams is actually going to be very tight. I don't think one team will run away with it this year. Third place.
Well, third, we've talked about momentum and building the side up again. I've gone for one you've already mentioned, which is Rochdale. A much better season last year, a really decent summer transfer window so far. They've added Emmanuel Di Serva, who I always talk about. Wherever he goes, he scores goals, proven threat at this level.
Yeah.
Several other established National League players coming through the door. They've added depth, they've kept the average age down. And to be honest, a bit like Southend, I think there are really safe predictions to put in the top seven. Jim McNulty, like Kevin Maher, is doing a great job. And again, another side that just continues to progress. So I've gradually put them a little bit higher. I think they might sneak in the top three this year.
My third place team is Carlisle. Tough start for them. Obviously, no one really talks about double relegation. They always talk about Luton's double relegation, but Carlisle also suffered a double relegation, got promoted at the same time as Luton. So, but yeah, absolutely disastrous for them. Obviously, but they've got a very experienced international manager and obviously a Premier League coach and Premier League winner actually in Mark Hughes. But he's got the experience of handling big pressure games. I think they'll be I'd say bounce back, but definitely they'll be challenging up there. Right, second place.
Well, your third is my second. I've gone for Carlisle United in second place because, as you said, despite rallying late in the season with Mark Hughes, it was a dreadful season, relegated from the Football League and pretty much a disaster from start to finish, let's be honest. Obviously, the situation around January with Mike Williamson and sacking a manager after letting them bring loads of players in January, it was all chaotic at Carlisle all year. But they've kept the manager, they've kept some good players, they've signed some good players. They'll want to bounce back at the first attempt, but I think one team might stop them doing that. They've signed Regan Linney from Altrincham, who was banging them in for fun last year. They've got Ajiboye in from Peterborough for creativity. And they've got a couple of experienced centre halves in Feeney and Mugabi. So I'd be very surprised if they're not battling at the top. And I'll be honest, I'm fairly confident my top three will be the top three. And those could be famous last words in 9 months' time.
My second place team is Forest Green Rovers, mainly because of the kit. No, I don't think any players can pass it to. They'll just give the ball away to Forest Green players because that kit is absolutely horrendous.
Do you
And
know
it'll
there
be
are
put
some
off.
people in my live streams who absolutely love that kit, and I can't work it out.
How? I know we've got the same sponsors, but how have they come for that design? And our design is completely different. I never know. But no, in all seriousness, obviously Robbie Savage is in charge. Big risk. Obviously, Robbie
Yeah.
Savage's highest managerial level is step four. Sorry, step three. Oh yeah, he smashed it, but he's got they've got the budget anyway. They're pretty much full time players at Macclesfield. So it is a huge risk. And at Forest Green, they'll have that. It's not the best place to go to Forest Green. They'll like if they can make that a fortress. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But I still think they'll be challenging. Definitely in the top two. Let's go. It's playoff time. Let's start with the eliminator. So you've gone for Southend versus Gateshead and Forest Green versus Hartlepool.
So from my playoff eliminators, I'll have Southend to beat Gateshead because I'm not confident that they get in anyway. And I will have, do you know what? I'll have Hartlepool to beat Forest Green because I think Hartlepool. Look, last season I got Oldham in fifth promoted, so I'm going to be bold here. I think Hartlepool will get through that. So then we have
The semi-finals will be Carlisle versus Hartlepool and Rochdale versus Southend.
now Rochdale Southend is brutal to call.
Well, it's deja vu from the season before.
Exactly, and we all know how that game went. So how on earth do you call it? As it stands at the moment, I think Rochdale have gone forward slightly more and have added more attacking threats. So I'll go for Rochdale to beat Southend. Carlisle Hartlepool, I've just got a funny feeling. We saw it last year, didn't we, with the favourites? Like York got absolutely battered at home by Oldham. We saw obviously Rochdale lose at home. The home teams were losing, and we ended up with 5th v 7th in the final. So I'm going to go for the lower teams to do it this time as well. I'm going to go for Hartlepool to shock Carlisle, even though I think Carlisle will get very close to the title, as York did last year. And that will leave me with 3rd v 6th. Rochdale
Oh,
Hartlepool.
yes.
Oh,
They
that's
got there.
so hard to call.
They got there.
See, I think Rochdale have improved really well, but I'm not sure if they're ready yet. Whereas Hartlepool, a bit like Oldham last year, they've got an experienced manager who's been there before. No, I'm going to go for Rochdale. Emmanuel Di Serva's going to do it. I'm going for Rochdale to beat Hartlepool in the final.
Right, cool. My turn now. This is just as complicated. Right, Southend versus Altrincham. Southend to beat Altrincham. Rochdale v Sutton. I'm going to go Rochdale. So that means Forest Green will play Rochdale in Carlisle Southend.
Ooh.
Rochdale will beat Forest Green. Southend beat Carlisle.
So you've gone for the shock as well.
Southend to go up.
Wow. I mean, whichever one of ours, if one of them's right, it's a great story.
Absolutely. Right, that's the playoffs, and our one only champion is who I think it's going to be.
Well, I'm very surprised by you, Craig, because that would be a strong term for bias this year if you've gone for them and for the club you went for in League Two. I mean, that's a sign of maturity and growth. That, but I have gone for I've gone for York City in top spot. Look, it was a brilliant season. Yes, it had a difficult finish. Yes, there were some ridiculous statements after they lost in the playoffs. But we can't detract from what they did on the pitch. They got 96 points, which in most seasons would be enough. Ollie Pearce stepped up. They took a gamble and was ridiculous. Obviously, wasn't quite fit for the semi-final of the playoff, which showed he's the player of the year in the National League, and it looks like they've somehow managed to keep hold of him, which is a great effort. They've added Palmer and Banks from Chesterfield, who obviously you were a big fan of when they came up from the National League. They've got experience in the spine. They've added people who have been there and done it, which is so crucial. And they've added Newby from Altrincham as a real threat last year. They've just added depth. They've added quality. They're leaving no stone unturned. They struggled when they had odd injuries in odd games last year. We mentioned when Pearce wasn't fully fit at the end. They've not got that issue this year. I think, bar him getting a long-term injury, I don't see anything stopping them. So I think I have to go for York City to win it.
Yeah, I've gone York as well. They did look strong back end of last season. Yeah, they bottled in the semi-finals. They just didn't turn up at the right time. They didn't turn up. Obviously, fought hard, challenging Barnet to the league title. Didn't get there. But they, as you said, they've added depth. They look strong. But yeah, I do think York will bounce back into the football league for the first time in a while. And if they do not make the top one, I don't think they'll win the playoffs.
No, I would agree with that as well.
They make the playoffs, but no, we've got them to go up as champions. So, right, let's give a quick recap of what we predicted for the National League this season. Let's start off in the bottom four. Last place, we've both gone for Morecambe. If they play the season, hopefully they do. 23rd, you've gone for Braintree. I've gone for Brackley. 22nd, we've both gone for Wealdstone. 21st, you've gone for Truro. I've gone for Boston United. In the top seventh place, you've gone for Gateshead. I've gone for Altrincham. Sixth place, you've gone for Hartlepool. I've gone for Sutton. Fifth place, you've gone for Forest Green. I've gone for Rochdale. Fourth place, we've both gone for Southend United. Third place, you've gone for Rochdale. I've gone for Carlisle. Second place, you've gone for Carlisle, and I've gone for Forest Green. Daniel Coe's going for Rochdale in third place to win the playoffs. I've gone for Southend United in fourth place to go up via the playoffs. And our champion for the Enterprise National League is York City. Those are predictions for the Enterprise National League. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments. And yeah, give us your predictions for the National League season. Like this video, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast. You can follow us on our socials on Twitter and on TikTok at Honest Football Podcast. And we'll see you next time.